Welcome back, everybody. DreamHack Valencia 2016. It's time to wrap up day number 2 with our final round of 16 match. Now, I do want to apologize. I did preview it as Tars versus Fenomeno, but I believe we have another round of 16 match instead. And joining us is a special guest. It was supposed to be Lothar and Raven, but we fired Raven and hired him for someone better looking and better at Hearthstone. It's Soleil from Team Archon, also hailing from America, representing the best region in the world. Woo!
Wow.
Hey, July 4th just happened, okay? It's July 4th.
I'll give you that then.
Thank you. Let us have our time. In the meantime, I hope you guys have been enjoying the broadcast as well. We have Silas versus Rubo. Now, people might not know too much about Rubo, and to be fair, we don't really either. He's a local player from Spain and just decided to come to DreamHack Valencia for fun and made round 16. Good for him. But for Silas, he's a player that's been part of practice groups. I know Orange is vouching for him, just saying like he's really happy for him. He hasn't gotten many tournaments to compete in, and this is one of the few that he's starting to enter, and now he's got results. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he wasn't able to compete in all those tournaments. He wasn't able to travel so much.
Yep.
So at least that's what Orange has said, right?
Yeah, just real life obligations just prevent you from traveling. I mean, in the end, to be going to Hearthstone tournaments, you have to fly all over the world sometimes, as you guys would know. As well.
All over the Europe, or if you're from NA, then yes.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you guys.
It's rough.
Yeah, it does. Our poor lives, us poor Americans. Oh man, life is tough.
Stuck playing
So
video
much
games
freedom. So much freedom have to, roam over the world.
It's true, man. The Blue Book is one of the best passports in the world to have, for sure.
Yep.
You just ask Lothar who had to get a visa to America.
Damn, man.
Which doesn't make sense. I don't need a visa to go to Poland, but you need a visa to come to America.
Yeah,
from
which
Poland.
makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Did you need to get? I mean, we all needed to get a visa for China, right? But it kind of.
I skipped that one.
Oh, okay.
Very smart. That's why he's the pro.
Well, I don't know. Firebad made 50K, and I sat at home, so.
Yeah, I guess you're the dumb one.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to leave you guys to your devices. Zalay and Lothar will walk you guys through. And we already have some interesting stuff happening on screen, so I'm going to dip out. Enjoy.
Divine Favor. So we've got an aggro paladin. Imagine he's keeping Argent Squire, pitching the rest. What is Zoo doing with the mulligan?
Well, I would say that you definitely will keep the 1-drop and the 2-drop. With the coin, you can debate on keeping the Councilman because of the fact that you know that you're facing an aggro deck. So the fact that you have a 5 HP minion on turn 2 is kind of like an appealing thing to do, right? Because it almost certainly trades with every single thing that is being played from the Paladin,
right?
Even if it will not be buffed, right? So I guess you can actually keep everything from here, apart from the Soulfire, and then see what will happen if you want to play the Knife Juggle in turn 2, or maybe the Councilman in turn 2. At least that's my perception of this matchup.
I like getting rid of the Councilman. I definitely like the Juggler because you have the Villager, that synergy, and because against aggro Paladin, those Knife Juggles are going to be devastating. There's a lot of 1-health targets you're going to be shooting at.
Okay.
The Councilman, I would certainly rather have an Imp Gang boss, though, and there's also several other better cards like Voidwalker to help protect the Knife Juggler, and just probably any 1-drop is better as well.
Good point. And he mulliganed away both, who got a second copy of the Knife Juggler. One is golden, one is not, so we clearly know which one is better.
The non-golden one, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So double 1-drop here? Just as much stuff as we can, or do we go 1-1-drop, and then next turn we go Juggler Coin 1-drop?
I would favor the Possessed Villager this turn, so you're aware, so you're almost 100% sure that the opponent will not trade into it, right? Because it makes no sense. So then, as you said, you can follow it up with a Knife Juggler into 1-drop, and then trade with your Possessed Villager so you get 2 knives. That can get you back on the board, right?
Now, it's kind of a question of whether we value an attack from this Flame Imp, or do we value a juggle from the Knife Juggler?
One thing that I dislike about playing the Flame Imp here is it's like a huge bait into the Ardent Squire, right? The Ardent Squire has a Divine Shield, whatever buff the Paladin will have, it will kill your Flame Imp for nothing. That's a huge thing, right?
Right, so we're giving the Paladin a potential value trade if he has something like Direwolf Alpha or the Abusive Sergeant that we see here.
Yeah. Not sure if I like this.
This is an awkward turn. Do you play both? You probably have to play both Abusive Sergeants. With
the Divine Favor that has almost no value against a Zoo? Yeah, I would say so.
Well, you could play one Abusive Sergeant into... Yeah, no, you probably have to play both Abusive Sergeants and just trade in the Flame Imp. You don't have a lot of options here. Because you just need the 2-1 on board.
If you ever plan to even draw 1 card from the Divine Favor, I would say you want to drop as many cards as possible every single turn, right? The free drop is unfortunate. It would be way better if he could get a Blessing of Might, or maybe, I don't know, whatever else, 1 drop, even 2 drop, that can be dropped, and you can play 2 cards per turn, so maybe the Zoo will be up in cards.
Now he disagrees. One argument for this is that maybe he dripper draws something to play next turn, and he could use that second V6 Archer with his Argent Horse Rider to trade into something like
But I guess you want to play the Argent Horse Rider this turn anyway, right? Maybe not now. No, you still want
still,
to.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You just can't allow that Knife Juggler to live. It's such a swingy card in this matchup. It just basically kills everything that you have.
Yeah, which is part of why this is just probably a terrible matchup for Paladin. Like, not only is Divine Favor a really unfortunate card to have in this matchup, it's fantastic in other matchups. That's why it's there. But in this matchup, it's just a battle for board control, and Zoo is just has better cards for that than aggro Paladin. So it's a pretty unfortunate matchup for the Paladin.
Definitely now with the Imgank boss on board and a second Hive Juggler in the hand. So you have multiple ways of spawning minions already on, like, you benefit from the minion already played on board, not only in trades, but also it generates minions which then trigger the Knife Juggler, so you get more value out of it. So that's kind of incredible in this matchup.
I like this play, Steward of Darkshire into Selfless Hero. These are sort of the 2 new aggressive Paladin cards that sort of make aggro Paladin sort of a thing that you can try to do, right?
Yeah.
And
oh, he's going for the console now.
Were we expecting Knife Juggler?
Yeah, I was expecting kind of Knife Juggler.
Well, the longer you wait on the Knife Juggler, the more you get Forbidden Ritual Juggles.
That's true.
And this was a good turn. And that is a good Blessing of Kings. So here we notice the synergy between buffing up the attack value of a minion and Divine Shield.
And that allows you to just kill the Councilman. There's no point in racing here. That's kind of unfortunate for the Paladin, right? It's a typical phase deck that doesn't have a lot of value because of the fact that he is relying on Divine Favor.
Right. It does have a lot of value, just not in this matchup.
Yeah, exactly. So usually you just want to deal as much damage to the face as possible. You kind of ignore trading at all because you put your opponent into an awkward situation when he has to deal with the Divine Shields first, right? And then you benefit from the Divine Favor to just refill your hand and still push for more damage and just finish up the game, close up the game. But in this particular matchup, you can need to trade with your opponent before you push for the final damage. But you have no fuel, no way of refueling your hand, right?
So here he finally plays that Abusive Sergeant that he declined to play on turn 2. I have a different perspective on how this Paladin deck's generally played, which is that it's a lot of trading, much like a Zoo deck or any other aggressive deck, in that in the early turns you're often just trading and establishing board control, and then eventually you refill with Divine Favor.
That depends on the draw as well, right?
Yeah, it depends on the draw, it depends on the match, it depends on everything.
Especially if you I agree with you completely. If you have like an Argent Squire into Abusive Sergeant, that is clearly a way to trade.
That's a trading hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So Soulfire is pretty powerful, but it's a little bit awkward with this hand, where we're looking for some 1-mana card to play this turn.
How many minions does he have actually?
I think
5 at least, right? Has to be 5. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it
if
looks
it
like
would be
5.
6, then it would be like just a snap pick, right? With the Reliquary Seeker.
Right.
So it has to be 5.
So how good's the Blood Imp? I think Blood Imp's a card that's really good in the Zoo Mirror. Here it's...
Okay,
so
he got 5, yeah.
I have big plans.
Too bad he couldn't get additional minions from the enemy boss, right?
Yeah, if it had a little bit more health, it could have made the 5/5. But it's this is certainly good enough.
He's so ahead of
Ooh,
this.
feels
Incredible.
bad.
I mean, at least you can play it and then Divine Favor for the additional card, so that's
3 mana
something.
draw card.
Woohoo!
Got him.
Yep. Oh.
Now that's a nice synergy between Keeper of Alderman and Dragon Egg, so that the Dragon Egg A can attack, so that it can start triggering, and B can survive multiple hits.
I don't believe that the egg will be alive till the next turn.
No, it's not. Everything's gonna die every turn.
Yeah.
This Knife Juggler is just gonna gun things down. Look, he can even tap, because he doesn't have enough board space to play Councilman Unleash for 3 or Forbidden Ritual for 3. Praise Alchemist against the egg.
Yeah,
a little bit cute.
Yeah, it is
He's
cute.
too good for it.
But you can have so many things done with that with the Alchemist, right? Let's say the Councilman is a perfect example, because just by playing the Alchemist on the Councilman, you build it as a 5/2 instantly. It's like an additional PO basically in the deck.
Right. So you can hero power and turn it into a 3/3 with Keeper of Alderman. You could escape concede. There's a number of options here. Maybe if he has Yogg in his deck, he could try and play. I'm just thinking of how it's here for the Paladin.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, right now my face is like, what, a Yogg in this deck? I mean,
No, of course he's not actually playing Yogg. I'm making a joke here. But,
yeah.
but I'm trying to think of ways. When you're behind, you want to think of what are my outs? What are the ways I can win this game? How can I set this up? And
I think one of the outs maybe would be a Consecration, but now when there's a Sea Giant in his hand, it's kind of hard to now pull it off, right?
Right, he could have Consecration. Consecration's an awkward card to play in a deck with Divine Favor. Divine Favor wants you to play a bunch of cards that you can just immediately put on the board, and Consecration, of course, is a card that needs to wait in the hand for the right situation.
Yeah.
So the two cards don't play well together, but sometimes two powerful cards that don't play well together do fit in the same deck, just because Hearthstone's more about powerful cards than about powerful signatures, I would say most of the time, right?
Yeah, completely agree. I'm just kind of confused why. Okay, so he's playing around the Consecration. It's kind of interesting because what he could have done with the Alchemist, right? If he wants to play around the Consecration, because he didn't want to play the Alchemist on the Constellation, right? He could have played the Giant maybe first and then the Alchemist. So the Constellation would be a 5/3 instead of 5/2.
Okay.
And push for more damage this way, right?
To be honest, I was not tracking that closely. What's interesting here is we saw a Noble Sacrifice drawn, which I guess means this is a Secret Paladin. We have Mysterious Challenger.
I wouldn't say so. The Noble Sacrifice is just great with the Steward of Darkness.
Okay.
Right? It just generates a minion that goes into the way and still lives because it has Divine Shield.
Okay. Is that enough reason to play a Secret, though?
I guess it's not bad, right? You want to protect your minions.
It's good with Knife Juggler. The Noble Sacrifice is. Protect that. It's like your Void Walker of sorts.
Kind of. I mean, there's unfortunate it's kind of unfortunate to play this Secret in the deck, even when your opponent doesn't know what you're exactly playing, because you can just shoot in the dark that this is a Noble Sacrifice always, right? So there's no symptom.
This is not lethal. And it's like a 50-50 lethal,
Wait,
right? If you go, well, you have to Soulfire pitching, or maybe now with the Direwolf Alpha, it's lethal.
Direwolf Alpha
yeah,
at +3.
Yeah, I was looking at Forbidden Ritual to buff the Councilman for 2, but now that we have the Direwolf Alpha, I think that's just it, right?
Yep, it's one more than it. So, first game is taken by Rubo with the Zoo Warlock against the Aggro Paladin. Kind of sad that we didn't see more of that Aggro Paladin, although everyone kind of hates on aggro decks, right? But it's interesting to see something that is usually not that often seen in tournaments, right? An Aggro Paladin is something kind of uncommon.
It's something different. It's unfortunate we saw it in this matchup where it had just no chance to win.
Yeah.
Would have liked to see it played against something that had a larger hand size that Divine Favor could get some real value, so that the Paladin have a better chance to control the board, get those value trades, do the things that it's trying to do, instead of queuing a Zoo, which is like kind of the same deck but does it better.
Great. So now Silas is queuing up a Druid which looks like a Yogg token Druid, sorry.
Okay.
Which cards do you think are the MVP of that deck?
What's the MVP of Yogg Druid?
Yeah.
I mean, can I say Innervate and Wild Growth?
Sure, you can.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Exactly. So that means probably that you want to keep only the Wrath and mulligan away the rest. Maybe keep the Swipe because it's kind of also an instrument in this matchup, but it's very slow.
Right. I'm not even sure that I'm keeping the Wrath.
Think so?
It kills the same things that Living Roots do, right? It's just killing Dark Peddler, Direwolf Alpha, and Knife Juggler. Like the only thing at 3 health that I can think of off the top of my head is Void Walker, which is not really something you want to kill.
To be honest,
so it's kind of a bad Living Roots.
Yeah, but when I'm considering Wrath as a card in this matchup, I'm just thinking of it as a deal to damage.
Yeah, it's certainly like an above average card. One question is it good enough to actually win you the matchup? Because I view this as generally being a Zoo favored matchup. I typically want to be Zoo against the Druid, so I'm a little bit.
Wow, that's a bad opening hand.
Yeah, this doesn't bode well that your best option is to pick Druid into Zoo.
That's true, but the Shaman is kind of even less favored, I guess, because at least what can Druid do is Innervate, as you said, would be the MVP, innervate a Violet Teacher, an example,
Yeah.
on turn 2, which will not be killed, or even on turn 1 if you're on
Yeah,
coin.
turn 1, Innervate Coin Teacher, turn
Yeah.
2, Wrath, win.
Yeah, exactly. Because the fact that you snowball so much from the Violet Teacher,
Right.
it's just basically like a knife juggler with bigger body and a delayed attack,
like
right?
that, yeah.
But it's kind of similar when you think about it,
Yeah.
because you can always use those 1/1 minions as a trade material,
Mhm.
or even better because you have Powerful Wild, so that's even more powerful, right?
So here,
Claw looks good.
Claw is a
actually.
pretty good removal spell.
Yeah.
It's a lot like a Living Roots.
Exactly.
It
It's
can't
even
be
better.
played proactively. It doesn't have the synergy with Power of the Wild in that manner, but it's really good for killing those Knife Jugglers, Direwolf Alphas, and
I like it.
Peddlers.
Definitely like
and
it. But
Flames.
oh my god, this opening hand.
Wow.
This is terrible. 3 3-drops and 2 4-drops for Rubo.
I
Oh
was-
my god.
I was kind of wondering what Silas's plan was for beating Zoo with his lineup.
This might be the
this
idea,
is the
right?
plan, yeah. They go turn 1 pass, turn 2 tap, and then that makes it much easier.
I really don't like this, to be honest.
Oh, I like this a lot. This is the tempo play. It's a tempo matchup.
Yes,
It's all
but-
about being hit on board, right?
But you are aware that your opponent didn't do anything
Right.
for 3 turns, and he tapped as a Zoo Warlock. So what is the turn 3 then? I'm 100% sure it will be Imp Gang Boss, and you just played the 3-2 into a 2-4 that generates a 1-1 because of the trade.
Okay, that's true.
Right.
But maybe it's still correct. Maybe you're better off having a 3-2 into his 2-4 than having nothing, for one
Mhm.
thing. And second of all, you know, it's not a 100% chance that he has the Imp Gang Boss. It's, I don't know, I'm going to guess 80% based on the information we have. There's still that 20% where it's massive upside to play the 3-2. And I think even when we know he has the Imp Gang Boss in hand, I think I still want that 3-2 in play. I'm going to have to deal with that Imp Gang Boss, you know, sooner or later, and it's going to be awkward. And I think I might like Coin Teacher this turn. I think that puts the most stuff on board. So that's
Yeah,
probably
I
what I'm
agree.
doing.
If you have 2 Violet Teachers, definitely also correct, because your opponent will have to deal with that Violet Teacher as soon as possible.
Right.
So then it makes sense to to play that Power of the Wild as a minion on turn 2, because you know that you will coin out the Violet Teacher, so your opponent will probably use the Imp Gang Boss to kill the Teacher, so he doesn't lose to it
Yeah.
immediately, right?
Yeah,
So then
and
you're
then
free
you have
to...
the 3-2
Yes.
putting in work for you.
That's correct. Now let's see what will be the options for Rubo. So he actually can deal with it. He can
Cannot
deal
kill that teacher.
Yeah.
So what's second best? Councilman, Possessed
Second
Villager.
Imp Gang Boss and Possessed Villagers, so you can deal with the Violet Teacher's apprentices, right? With the pupils.
Yeah, so it's between the Imp Gang Boss and the Councilman. The Councilman comes out as a 3-5 immediately. Which is pretty big. It's gonna
Yeah,
it's
well,
gonna
that's
grow
also
into
true, yeah.
trade into the teacher in just 1 attack. Normally it's correct to play Imp Gang Bosses before Councilman, just because generally like Imp Gang Boss is
Buff
better
and
for the
yeah.
early. It's better for trading into early game minions, and it's like sort of the better board control card. Whereas Councilman's better for going face and punishing people once you're already ahead.
It's like a floating berserker, right?
But in this particular case, Councilman might be the better board control card because of how it trades into that Violet Teacher.
And Silas doesn't have a really good way of dealing with that.
I like this
with the
position from
Councilman.
Zoo. Sorry.
Yeah, this is something that actually is not really often discussed by casters when it comes to positioning, because it's kind of intricate.
Right.
And you have to really consider a lot of options.
Yeah, it's a lot of math. It's all you think about as a player, because like everything else is
Exactly.
automatic. So you just sit there and think about positioning in these corner cases that come up 1 time in 100.
Especially when Imp Gang Boss also generates a minion on a specific side. You have a Defender of Argus in your hand and a Direwolf Alpha, so you need to make the placement correctly. So always have the maximum. You benefit to the max from the placement and the Direwolf Alphas, right?
This is a really interesting turn for the Druid. He has a lot of options in a Violet Teacher.
Oh,
He's
does he
making
go for a
1/1s off
draw?
the Living Roots.
No, actually this string, okay.
Yeah.
And this is looking really bad for Rubo right now.
Yeah.
The Violet Teacher value? Does
Incredible.
Yeah.
Sea Giant, that's the
Oh my
exact counter.
God.
Oh my, what a top deck. So
you can still
you can play 2
Di-
minions and then
yeah,
get a 0-mana Sea Giant is the idea here.
Exactly.
But do we have...
Wait. What is
if
he
he's
doing?
doing that, he's only playing 1 minion.
And
then
that
the Sea
means
Giant. He
he
could play
will play
Direwolf
the-
Alpha plus Imp Gang Boss instead.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That was kind of better, right?
It's been 5 mana instead of 4 kind of thing. It's
And
really...
also, you put a better better trade weapon against those 1/1s if you have an Imgun Ghost, right?
Well, the thing is how he's trading into that teacher, right? It was a much cleaner trade into the teacher this way.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So this swipe is looking pretty powerful. Is it the play this turn, though? So you could swipe the 4/4 and just go face for 4. That's the first play that I see. You could swipe the Sea Giant and trade into it 4 times.
I like that, actually.
You like that? I think I wanted to get into more of a... I think I like swiping the 4/4 better and getting into a little bit of a racing scenario.
But you're losing, like
I'm
huge
losing the
margin.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like the 1/1s have potential upside with something like Power of the Wild, Savage Roar, Raven Idol into things. And that's a way for me to win. And I do feel like I'm losing now that Sea Giant came down. Like I was winning, then the Sea Giant came down, and now...
Yeah. Okay, that's a really weird situation, but the Defender of Argus will be just such an enormous creature. I mean, it will generate such an enormous creatures that it will allow Rubo just maybe to even ignore those 1/1s and the Azure Drake. No, you can't ignore Azure Drake.
I like clearing the Azure Drake.
Yeah, the Azure Drake
pretty
needs
good.
to be killed.
There's a lot of spells
Yeah.
that such as Swipe and Wrap that we can see in the other guy's hand.
Even without those in hands, I would be kind of worried that I can lose this matchup by a top deck, right?
I feel like I'm way ahead here. I do not want to... I mean, I usually don't even think about it, to be honest. It's kind of automatic at some point. You're killing Azure Drake pretty much every time if your opponent's at 29 life. The only way you're leaving that up is if you're just not. So here he chooses to go with Flame Imp over Direwolf Alpha. He's floating a mana, but it...
Floating mana is not that important when you know that you have 7 on next turn and you will not play the Leroy. So you can always fit in the life tap with the Gang Boss and the Direwolf Alpha, right?
But is the Flame Imp... I mean, I guess it is a better minion to have the Argus effect on, so it makes quite a bit of sense.
It doesn't... It has 1 more attack, and it kind of gets worse before the Direwolf... sorry, after the Direwolf Alpha, because you want to benefit from the boost out of the attack as soon as possible. Right?
I think a lot of times you are playing Leroy for lethal next turn with Direwolf Alpha, Leroy lethals. So let's say our Flame Imp dies. We have 11 damage plus 3 from the Direwolf Alpha plus 6 from the Leroy. It's 20. So if Flame Imp dies and the Druid does nothing defensive like Hero Power or Taunt, then it's lethal.
I think he won't. He's just doing... I mean, he's doing the best turn that he can, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely agree that the Violet Teacher and the Rat seems like the best choice, but unfortunately for him, seems like the end of the game.
Trading those 1/1s is interesting. It plays around a second Sea Giant.
No one actually plays 2 Sea Giants, right?
Actually, I did.
I mean, nowadays, right? Oh, you mean in this tournament?
In this tournament.
Oh, interesting.
I was banning Warrior, so I needed answers to Zoo and Shaman, and I felt like Sea Giant was a way to help in that direction.
Okay, did it work?
I mean, I went 5, let's see. I don't know how often I drew them. I felt like, I mean, I went 5-2 in the matches that I played, which is, you know, a better result than you can expect in the long run, but it's also not a good enough result. So did it work? I don't know. It felt okay.
Okay, interesting. I mean, it's a meta game coin, right? So I definitely can see that happening and working.
Yeah, and it just depends on, you know, what you're banning and what your lineup's plan is.
That Craze Alchemist is a perfect draw in this matchup. You can deal with every single totem that can be played apart from Totem Golem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still use it to decrease his health and then trade with a Flame Imp, right? Yeah.
Flame Imp into Coin, Totem Golem into Alchemist is probably a pretty common line of play when you have Alchemist.
It's kind of a sweet deal. It's just like 1 mana, 3 damage to your face, so for 3 mana for your opponent, it's kind of sweet.
I'm kind of surprised. We didn't see the Shaman last game instead of the Druid. I feel like I would rather play Shaman against
Druid?
than Druid.
Nah, I feel like I would rather play Druid because of the fact that there's an Innervate in the deck.
Okay,
just because of that.
It's quite a bit of variance there.
Yeah.
But I mean, this deck has, you know, Tunnel Drug, Totem Golem. Those are cards too that change matchups quite a bit when you draw them.
Yeah, I agree. And now that's kind of an awkward turn, but I guess you can coin out the Voidwalker alongside the Peddler. But definitely,
What if I just start with Soulfire?
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
but wouldn't
I
you
might start this turn with Soulfire?
Still when you have the coin, right?
Yeah, if I pitch the coin, I'm happy. I play Voidwalker. If I pitch the Voidwalker, I can coin out a Peddler.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I really like that actually. Because I was always thinking about soul firing just the totem golems, you know, or helping to clear up the thing from below.
Yeah.
But in this scenario,
But this thing's a problem right now. We
Yeah,
gotta deal
exactly.
with it. It's a battle for board control, and sometimes you just gotta get rid of a card to try and do everything you can to win the board now, so that you can get the value trades in the future.
I mean, I can understand that he is kind of thinking about not maybe soul firing because of the fact that he has Defender of Argus in his hand.
So he has a cute play here. Maybe he's gonna coin the Alchemist on his own Voidwalker. That way, the 3/1 trades into 2/3. That's cute.
It's good, but I still like the soul fire more, to be honest.
You love my new recipe.
I think both lines have some merit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, not the best of draws. What would you want to have seen there? Probably Totem Golem, because you have 2 mana.
Yeah.
Good talk, good talk. Figured that one out.
Well, it's just like
any
hero
removal
power,
spell, like Lightning Bolt or Rockbiter, to get rid of the 3/1, so your Tunnel Trog traded into the 2/2 would have also been powerful.
He used one Lightning Bolt. This is why also Rubo chose to use the Alchemist instead of the Soulfire, I guess, right? Because he saw one of the removal cards being used already. So there's only 3 cards that are that powerful to actually help with this situation.
Right.
And now, please, Mortal Coil or Elven Archer or the Boar. Nope. Shift Azure is actually amazing.
It's pretty bad with Soulfire.
But you don't plan to use that Soulfire now.
anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe against a Flametongue Totem or a unlucky Tusker Totemic, right? So that's maybe something that you will want to play it. I mean, sorry, I'm talking about the one in the hand, not the second Soulfire.
Right.
So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about as well.
Yeah,
I
but
think
I wasn't
think
sure if
I'm
we were on the same
just
page.
Worgen Infiltrator. I like this play.
Okay, maybe I'm
And
just.
then are we going face for 2, or do we like respect the Lightning Storm kind of thing? Probably
Well,
not.
he has the exact deck list.
He has the exact deck list. Okay.
Yes, so he
knows.
knows exactly.
Teching in a Lightning Storm into Aggro Shaman has become fairly popular recently.
It's the same case like it was with Temple Mage, right? It has 2 Flame Strike for the same reason, basically. They are of course way slower, but they help immensely against Zoo. They help immensely against Shamans, because you have early game tools and you just need something to, you know, clean up the board after you have some presence on the board.
Yeah, it's like the card doesn't fit the deck at all. Well, I mean, they're slightly different reasonings. They're very similar reasoning. Like you're correct, of course, but part of it is that Lightning Storm doesn't fit Aggro Shaman's game plan at all, but it fits how people play against Aggro Shaman. When you're playing against Aggro Shaman, you don't respect the Lightning Storm. You consistently you go wide. You leave yourself with as many 1-health minions as possible and expose yourself to those brutal, devastating Lightning Storms. So it's good because people actively play into it very much against Aggro Shaman. That's not as much the case with Flame Strike in Temple Mage,
Well, I would disagree about that, you know?
Okay.
I had so many situations where people are just blindly playing those 4 HP minions into the Flame Strike, although it's known that Flame Strike can be a card in Temple Mages.
it's kind of, the metagame's kind of evolved over the past days and weeks in that regard.
Yeah, of course.
Good Soulfire. Pitching abusive, worth. Look at this. Turn 6, Thing from Below is at 6 mana still.
That Tusker Totemic should have been played way, way before, right? It was just begging to be played on turn 3, but nope. That was a Mana Crystal locked because of the Lightning Bolt. No, it wasn't the Lightning Bolt? Yeah, it was a Lightning Bolt on turn 2.
Well, it's a really strong card here. For 3 mana, we're getting a 3/2, 2 mana worth of discount, so like an Innervate. So it's like 1 mana for a 3/2 and a totem that could potentially be worth anywhere from 1 to 3 mana.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, it's kind of no-brainer, right?
I'm starting with Tuskar Totemic here every time.
Yeah. Oh, wow. He's thinking about the Thing from Below? Interesting.
It just doesn't seem like a winning play.
Yeah. Because that most likely can be traded with anything that can be drawn. A Dark Iron Dwarf on the Flame Imp.
Yeah.
Right? Second Abusive Surgeon.
Yeah.
On the Flame Imp as well. PO on whatever.
On the 2/1 Argus.
Forbidden Ritual.
Yeah. Lets the Councilman trade.
So there's like tons of options. Like Direwolf Alpha also helps, kinda.
Good life tap.
Oh.
Well, here's one of those scenarios you were just talking about.
So it's kind of awkward, but still, I feel like this is probably better.
Yes.
Anyway.
just on board. On board, it didn't work out well. Could have gone for Tuskar Totemic and Hero Power and maybe the Tunnel Trog, maybe holding off depending on how things went that turn. And that would have discounted his Thing from Belows by 4 mana. So even though it was like a weaker turn that turn, it set up for stronger future plays.
I mean, it looks like another free out here in
He's a
the
believer,
top
man.
16. Holy crap.
These 5/5s just coming out.
They're balanced, though.
At 5, at 6 mana, sure.
I mean, they're not really. That should be a 5/5/5, basically, right? With
Yeah,
a
it's
taunt.
overcosted at this price.
Yeah, at this price it's overcosted, but in general, like usually you see them at for 3 mana or 2.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh god.
I've played a lot of them for 0.
Well, 8 damage.
At 0,
to the face.
they're perhaps less devastating than when they're 3 and 2, right? Because it means they came down in the late game where you're not using the rest of your
Yeah.
mana.
Agree. And the Tusker Dynamic is kinda not helping you now. Even with a Flametongue Totem,
Yeah, too late.
too late. Well,
Lightning Storm.
seems like that's about it. That's a very fast match. 3-0 taken by Rubo, and he's in the top 8. That is actually lightning fast. 3-0 Zoo. What did he have
Zoo
to
is
say?
a good deck. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not. If somebody's gonna get 3-0'd, I'm not at all surprised to hear that Zoo that did it. And with this lineup, I'm also not surprised to see Zoo going 3-0. I'm a little bit surprised to see Warlock not banned with that lineup.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Silas's lineup actually it seems like it's pretty weak against Zoo. And that's basically it, right? So what are the other weak choices that you can ban? I don't think you can actually ban a Warrior when you have that Zoo that is wrecking you and your entire lineup.
You know, I haven't seen his tech choices in all of his lists. So there's probably something in those decks that makes those matchups better for him than I'm understanding for him to be not banned in Zoo.
Rodon,
Yeah.
what's up, man?
Yeah, makes sense to me, man. Just
It's
agreeing.
late. It's late.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit weird hours, you know, when you just start trolling a little bit too much. Yeah, I mean, Zoo is a deck that just needs to be respected once in a while. I think people have really dismissed it more and more. They just feel like all the other classes are really taking the spotlight. People make fun of Shaman, of course, for being on top very beginning of this expansion, and then now Warriors having his time in the sun, and now Druid's kind of taking that spotlight. People just forget that Zoo's still like a really good deck. Same with every meta, pretty much. Like it happened even at the end of League of Explorers when everyone was whining about Super Paladin and Druid, and then there's like, well, Zoo's actually still like insanely good. So
Well, it's
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
consistent, right? That's
Yep.
the strength of the deck. You
Yeah.
have just almost always, because it happened actually in this match, you have almost always a great curve, and you have you can trade up with almost every single minion that you have in
Yeah,
the deck.
precise.
Right?
And we actually saw him have a terrible curve, and he
Yeah.
won anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the power of Zoo.
yeah, I mean, they still do some really good stuff, and the variations across them, like whether or not you're playing Leroy still as your finisher, or maybe no Doom Guards, or maybe you do have Doom Guards, maybe you have Sea Giants in it too. It just kind of makes it really difficult because each of those zoos have different ways they can finish you. So preparing your decks for that kind of thing is really tricky. So I don't really blame Crane for like banning Warlock all the time in his strategies.
Yeah.
By the way, we're joined by Rubo. Congratulations on your win. How's getting to the top 8 feel for you, man?
It was nice, obviously. I don't know. I never thought I could be in this spot, and well, of course I really want to thank my teammates, my team organization, and everyone who really helped me to get in here.
So
Yeah.
tell us the name of the team then.
Stone Templars. Stone Templars.
Okay, sounds
And
bad.
Spanish organization.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What's kind of like your backstory? Have you been competing for a while, and have you been like trying really hard to compete, or is it just kind of like a side thing for fun and you're like part
No,
time?
I was competing for the since the early beta, I guess, but for the past year or something like that, I really took off from the competitive play. Just a lot of work, a lot of other stuff, but I don't know. Just it happened.
Well, it's awesome. Top 8 at a DreamHack with so many players. That's actually quite a achievement.
Yeah.
I would say, right? An achievement.
Yeah, certainly. So, can you talk to us a little bit more about the Spanish community of like Hearthstone? You said there's like a team of Spanish players. Do you guys regularly meet up at like events, or do you guys just kind of loosely talk to each other over the country because you guys are far
No,
away?
there are a lot of tournaments in Spain, small tournaments, but with, I don't know, 300 euros prize pool or something like that. And
Still a lot.
Yeah, but there are like twice per month, something. It's very, I don't know, the Spanish community is very, very, very good. We are all very joined, giving everyone support when Naka won to the ESL in Cologne, in Katowice.
Yeah, the IAM Katowice that you
Yeah.
won. And also qualified for top 8. And Cereza also did too in
Yeah.
the Winter Championship. I think Spain is just like a country that people don't really think too much about when they think about the powerhouse countries in Europe. They think about Germany. I guess Thijs single-handedly keeps Netherlands relevant. And then we have some other players too from Sweden too are very good. But Spain is definitely doing really good results recently.
Yeah, we have a very good player. Just we didn't get into the top.
Yeah, not yet. At least.
Not yet, at least.
Maybe in
But
the
will
future.
happen.
Probably in the future, if
For
the
sure.
We have
the
a
war
lot of
continues.
Spanish players here in the top, right? So maybe someone from Spain will actually take the trophy from in its country.
Yeah, we hope.
Wow. So why don't we talk a little bit about that series? I mean, I can ask the first question. You guys can ask anything specifically about it.
Let's go.
I have a question. In the second match, or the second game, you were playing against, I believe, Druid with your Zoo, and you went turn 1 pass, turn 2 tap. What were you thinking at that moment?
Well, yeah, everyone who ever played through is pretty sure what I was thinking at the moment. I thought the match was totally lost. I was just thinking about, shall I play Shaman next? Shall I play Druid probably?
The next
But
pick, yeah.
then I took the CJ and I said, well, I may win.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, that was really good. Did you know that he'd start on the Paladin deck, and that's why you queued Zeus? Did you figure that out?
Yeah, we played together in the Swiss. Again,
And
the third
wow,
round,
okay.
we played together. We repeat the same man here. I opened with Su in the Swiss. He opened with Shaman, I believe. I'm not sure. I have the calculations somewhere, but I don't remember right now. Just I was sure he won me just because he kept the Paladin as the last deck to win my Druid. I was sure he will expect me to open Druid, just because the course of the previous match we played, and I was not sure, but I thought he will probably open with Paladin just because of that, and I kept my open as Su, and that worked.
Oh, the mind game is really important there.
so who won actually the first match between you guys two?
He won.
He won.
Wow, so you got the revenge.
I got my revenge. Yeah,
Yeah. What was the
cool.
score in that series?
3-2.
How did he deal with your Zoo?
I'm with the Druid. Let me check. No, with the Shaman, I think.
Interesting. Because
With
he
someone.
deliberately took the Druid against the Zoo, right?
Yeah.
In game 2, so he thought that he has more chances to win
With
the
Su
Druid,
than with
right?
Shaman. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, cool. I mean, that's pretty much all we have for now. Congratulations, man. You're going to day number 3 to compete. And maybe you get those HCT points, and maybe you continue to compete. Maybe we'll see you in the summer Europe Championship.
We will see. We'll see.
All right, one step at a time, for sure. For now, just get some good night's rest.
Okay.
And that about does it for us here at the broadcast for DreamHack Valencia day number 2. We're going to have one more day where we compete for the top 8. We're going to do all 7 matches from the 4 quarterfinals to 2 semis and the grand finals. Remember, they're battling out for up to $8,000 for the winners, as well as 15 Hearthstone Championship Tour points. And we're going to be back here on the stream here at DreamHack TV. So make sure you guys check in